Hi, Filter here. Uh, this is a an unusual video for me. It's a slightly impromptu, but I like to call this comic books. Where do we go from here? One of the weird things in comics right now is SJW infiltration. They've invaded the whole comic space by forcing new, I wouldn't even say new, just these weird ideas about something. They decide, hey, let's turn a character, let's change this character's sexual preference. Let's change this character's race. We want this. It's more important that we have this. Let's cater to an audience that doesn't really exist. It's very interesting because I brought this up in a previous video about Frederick Wortham. Love him or hate him, he was actually very interesting. Due to what he did, he, and again, he's more like a Jack Thompson of his day. And he pointed out these weird things in comic books, horror stuff, and oh, this leads to juvenile delinquency. He looked at little Abner and noticed that tree stumps or little tree indentations were symbols of vaginas or something like that. And Wonder Woman was really representation of lesbianism, and Superman was an ideal created by an Aryan superiority, which is ironic considering they were created by Superman was created by two Jewish kids. Go figure. Really, go figure. And what happens when the comics code was out there were a lot of creative individuals. I mean, they were really, really creative. Uh, and they were able to skirt around the rules and leave it as an implication. I mentioned before about North Star from Alpha Flight. He was always meant to be gay, according to John Byrne. But he really couldn't do anything with it at the time. And of course it took years after the fact. I think 17 years? No, it was a good amount of years after the fact before they actually revealed his sexuality. And it was great. It was a really good issue, and the story itself very, very touching, heartwarming. Alpha Flight 106. If you ever get a hold of it, I suggest you, or is it 103? Well, you'll find out. Just Google that shit. You'll know. But again, when the comics authority, the comics code was taken away, there were so many people out there that said, "Oh, this is a great idea. Now we can do the stories that we want to do." And now the stories have steadily gotten, well, dull. Now they're relying upon these weird tricks. Yeah, let's give a woman Thor's hammer. And then when the sales didn't show that people wanted to see that, then some idiot decides to write, "The man-child gets his hammer back." Well, fuck you. It's not like you were reading Thor before. Oh, you decide to pick it up now and say, "Oh yeah, now I'm going to really read this book." It reminds me of. It just reminds me of something I, I remember happening with Rush Limbaugh. He made this reference about Sandra Fluke, slut, that thing, and then all these companies pulled out. They stopped their sponsorship. And you had the Young Turks and you had MSNBC shouting, "Yay! They're standing up for principle!" And then guess what happened? The people who were, who used their services said, "Fuck you. If you're going to drop somebody like that over just this little comment and this bullshit, then you don't need our business." And do you know what happened? None of those progressives who were shouting and raising up their hands in solidarity, not one of them came to help those companies. In fact, a few of them folded. And that's what we're facing. So where do we go from here? You make the war female, didn't work. Instead of trying to be socially conscious, how about for once, writers, give us a good story? Half the time, these stories seem to be boggling down on really dumb shit. When was the last time you saw an actual story where they're doing something against, I don't know, organized crime? Everything is this weird conspiracy. It's like watching an episode of NCIS or Bones. It's the same bullshit. Some weird conspiracy that is all encompassing, and yet it's like, really? Is this how you have to keep your viewers interested? Try to be creative. Superheroes were supposed to be crime fighters. They're not supposed to be guys who give you some reflection on, oh my god, look at how the world's going. Oh, homophobia. Oh god, I can't believe this. This baker will make a cake for me. Enough is enough. Be creative. It doesn't take. It, if you folks are as creative as you claim to be, then create a story. You know, honestly, I don't think I've. Since, dare I say, maybe the 1980s, I don't think the X Men have done anything really, really good. There's just a lot of lamenting. There's like way too much lamenting. They're all lamenting about, oh, I'm a mutant, I have powers. You know, after like a few years, you have to come to grips with it. I've seen veterans who've gotten limbs blown off. They've come to grips with what, who, and what they are. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if mutants really existed, and you're like, oh my god, I'm a mutant, and it's like, wait a minute, I can do shit. Hey, cool. I'm getting sick and tired of this. You want to make a statement, it could be part of the story, but it doesn't have to be the main focus of the story. Again, superheroes are supposed to fight crime. They're supposed to stop the bad guy from doing bad shit. But if you change the definition of the bad guy to somebody who has a different political opinion or sees the world a little bit different than you, then that's not creative writing. That's just rehashing bullshit that I've seen so many times before. A dozen times in movies. And again, I have to ask myself, who writes this shit? Case in point. What was it? White House Down. Story had great potential, but it went back to the tired cliche that the guy behind it was some conservative Republican with big business interests and wants to start a war with North Korea to do. And I'm like, oh my goodness, couldn't it have just stayed with at least the James Woods thing where his son had died and he just wanted to not let his son die in vain or something like that. That would have been a more compelling story if they left it as such. It gets so tiresome. It gets so old. How many shows have you seen are like this? How many movies have you seen like this? Literally, you can predict how who the bad guy is. An episode of Law and Order, which could have not even a Gamergate episode, which is now in retrospect should be, I don't know, it should be put on Mystery Science 3000 if if that show was on. That deserves to be ripped apart. But every time it's the same stupid thing. They had the Occupy Wall Street episode on Law and Order SVU. And before you knew it, the bad guy turned out to be some military contractor? Really? You couldn't just show a guy who was a reprobate doing something. No, let's give this stupid ass plot of a military contractor having these guys rape a fucking chick, and that's it. I'm like, really? You couldn't at least come up with something decent? You fall on this tired cliche, and that's what's happening in comics. Let's fall on a tired cliche. Oh yeah, I'm a writer. No, you're not. You're a rehasher. I think B said it best. It's like reporters. You don't call them reporters or journalists anymore. They're people who write stuff, and that's all they do. They just write stuff. I love comics. I like I said, and I read comics for like 40 years. I know the artists. I know writers. I even know fucking inkers. Hell, I could name you a couple of colorists. But this shit is just off. The... Maybe I should do. Maybe I should start my own hashtag. I don't know. Hashtag straighten your shit out. Or how about this one? Yeah, like this video is going to be titled, Where do we go from here? Hashtag, where do we go from here with comics? I'm done. I'm done. I have to go to places and get back issues because those stories had more shit in it than the crap that I'm seeing today. I had to go and get third party shit because Marvel and DC are playing this ridiculous game, and even Image is going this far. Give us compelling stories. Don't give us the shit that you want to preach to us. If you're going to show something like, I don't know, let's say you have a thing about opposing parties or something like that. How about you at least show the opposing party maybe in a somewhat sympathetic light where you get to understand what's going on? Instead of saying, well, they don't agree with us, they're wrong. Well, like I said, this was an impromptu video. I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe nothing, maybe something. But until then, I hope you all have a really good day. I'll see you all later.